The Democrats have very much proven to be anti-Israel. There's no question about that. And it's a disgrace. I mean, I don't know what's happened to them, but they are totally anti-Israel. Frankly, I think they're anti-Jewish.
President Trump in 2019, talking about the Democrat Party. A lot of them out in the street yesterday cheering the massacre of the Jews. If you're a Democrat, this is your party. And of course, your immigrant friends who are chanting and cheering the death of the Jews. Not since World War II has there been a massacre on this scale of Jewish people. The attack on Israel by radical Islamic jihadi armies. Hamas and Islamic Jihad in the south, in the Gaza. And now Hezbollah, the army of Allah, the army of God in the north out of Lebanon, raining death on the Jews from the north. And guess what? Both backed by Iran. Iran, the Ayatollah, and the Islamic Revolution and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, according to the Wall Street Journal, very much involved in the planning and plotting and arming over the course of months for this to take place, while Joe Biden is funneling billions of dollars to the Iranians and hundreds of millions of dollars to the Palestinians, which had been cut off by President Trump and then reestablished and reinstated by lunch bucket Joe Biden. Because, you know, if you have an interest in the mass murder of a population, the left is going to be your friend, because the left loves nothing more than a good mass murder. They're the left, after all. The Islamists don't hold a candle to what the left has done over the last 100 years. The left are the real mass murderers in America. The Islamists, definite problem. And I want to get into this because now that Hezbollah is in the fight, joins the front page of the Washington Times today, your newspaper of record in Washington, D.C., Israel declares war, we had a good big land war going on in Europe already with Russia, nuclear power. And, Joe Biden doesn't know what to do, and there are no peace talks going on. And we have this feckless, hapless, wan Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, who isn't doing anything. But now he's telling the Jews to stop hurting people because they're not on our side. They're not on the side of Western civilization. But the Washington Times, they're the left. They're not liberals. Israel declares war, Hezbollah joins fight. U.S. sends strike force. We're sending an aircraft carrier battle group, the USS Gerald R. Ford and the associated ships, and they carry a lot of firepower. What are they going there for? We're also sending additional Air Force assets, bunches of them. F-16s, F-35s, superfighters, A-10s. Those are the Warthog, the ground attack planes. And it looks like things are really heating up in the Middle East. More Democrats, more war. More Democrats, more violence. More Democrats, more murder. More Democrats, more carjackings. More Democrats, more kids graduating from high school and not being able to write their own names or add two and two, but they might suffer from gender dysphoria because more Democrats, more gender dysphoria. So we're sending in a strike group, an aircraft carrier battle group, and because we're showing that it's support and all that. Hamas conflict threatens U.S. goal of thaw in Middle East. Well, President Trump was bringing a great thaw to the Middle East, the Abraham Accords and 3 peace deals with Israel in 1 4-year stretch. And they were well on their way to having Saudi Arabia normalizing relations with Israel as well. Joe Biden came along and Saudi Arabia normalized relations with Iran instead of with Israel because Joe Biden is a danger to Western civilization. Well, let me broaden that to civilization itself, because he's a sock puppet for the left. And, controlling the sock is Barack Obama back there, and he is not on our side. The Wall Street Journal reporting today that that Iran and the IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, that they are behind this, backing it. You know, they just need money from the United States. You may remember that it was Barack Obama who bombed more countries than any president since World War II and got the Nobel Peace Prize before he even started. It was Barack Obama and Joe Biden that not only are mad bombers, but they funded Iran with unimaginable gobs of money, plane loads of money on pallets, shrink-wrapped. They were euros, not even American dollars. And then freeing up the tens of billions of dollars so that they could wage war against civilization and, in particular, the Jews, but the infidels of all stripes. They like doing things like, blow up a Jewish recreation center in Buenos Aires because they can't sleep at night knowing that Jews in Buenos Aires might be playing pinochle or something. Can't get away with that. We'll show you. So the barbarians are on the loose again, and Israel is under attack. And the goal is nothing short of total genocide, complete destruction of the state of Israel. That's Hamas's stated goal. That's Hezbollah's stated goal. It is Iran's stated goal. What is the stupid, childish saying the Democrats love to repeat over and over again? When someone tells you who they are, believe them the first time. I don't know how many times you have to be bombed before you figure out what we're dealing with here, but this is a genocidal and suicidal death cult, and they have a friend in the Democrat Party in the United States of America. Their number one funder, their benevolent sponsor, is the Democrat Party. From Barack Obama to Joe Biden, with Barack Obama's hand stuck up his sock to make him do what he wants. It is an extraordinary time to be alive. It's an extraordinary time to be an American. And this is now what looks like it could be an ever-expanding war in the Middle East, the all-out attack on Israel. I have some extraordinary audio for you from people within Israel, inside of Israel, and, of course, some of your news media people. And then the radical Islamic jihadis chanting in the streets of the United States of America about death to the Jews, and from the river to the sea, which is, polite talk for kill all the Jews. That's the thing, that river to the sea thing. And there are Democrat members of Congress who have chanted this in the past too. If you're Jewish and you're a Democrat, I think you might be mentally ill at this point. I honestly do. I can tell you with certainty, you're not paying attention or you're incapable of learning. Jewish liberal makes no sense. Honestly, black liberal makes no sense. Are you paying attention? Do you get the television where you are? You get the local news at night? Do you see anything? What's going on around you? Do you have any sense of awareness whatsoever? But extraordinary stuff here. So I've got a lot. Hamas and now Hezbollah, two radical Islamic armies, plus the Islamic Jihad, also in the Gaza, another Islamic army, all dedicated to death to the Jews. And here in the United States, liberals, they call themselves liberals, but they're really leftists. They're chanting with the genocidal anti-Semites in the streets. And I guess they, my friend Mona on the West Coast texted me this morning and said something like, is this what the beginning of World War III looks like? Is this honestly, this latest attack on Israel, the linchpin to World War III? And I said, well, I didn't have a lot of time to respond to her this morning, but Mona's been paying attention, and I know that for certain. And this is what weakness gets. There are great old sayings in American politics, and they become great old sayings because they're true and everyone knows it. Peace through strength. Now, the other side of that coin is war through weakness. We had a strong president. The New York Times and CNN made him out to be a boogeyman. And in Russia, they believed that. And in the Middle East, they believed that. And Iran believed that. And North Korea believed that. And China, they were taking our word for it. And President Trump, because he is strong like bull, he keeps them back on their heels. Then Joe Biden's sock puppet comes along. They know that Barack Obama is behind the curtain and that Barack Obama is not on our side. So this is a great time to attack. And Israel is under attack right now. It's Western civilization. It is civilization itself that is under assault here. And our administration keeps saying things like, well, let's have restraint on both sides. You know, you've got a home invasion and a gang of troglodytes attack your home and butcher your children and put your head's wife on a pike. And then the Democrats say, no, let's calm down and not respond harshly to any of this. They are, by the way, decapitating people in the streets. The Islamists are. The initial reports are of Israeli soldiers being decapitated. Women are being grabbed and brutalized, drenched in blood, their own blood or someone else's blood, and being dragged away, held as hostages. We are now being told that at least 9 Americans have been killed, you might say murdered, by the Islamists of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad out of Gaza. The big surprise attack, and we have this idiotic media that was, this looks like an intelligence failure. Yeah, you don't sound more intelligent saying it sounds like an intelligence failure, looks like an intelligence. You sound like an idiot, you know. There will be plenty of time for an after-action review after the action. That's when you have an after-action review. And right now, these idiots want to jump the gun. They're trying to find a way to blame the Jews. This whole intelligence failure thing is a way of saying, well, it's your fault. You're supposed to be so smart, all your Nobel Prizes and things. And so that's a way of trying to blame Israel. And they're already attacking Netanyahu on MSDNC and CNN because the radical left is the most barbarous, murderous gang on the planet. And when they see Israel under attack, they smile. They're happy about that. The left, worse than the Islamists, but they will and have joined forces with the Islamists because, anybody, again, that wants to murder a whole bunch of people, the left is with you. That's their bag, baby, and extraordinary stuff. Now, so much to cover here. It's and this is obviously the big story of the day, the big story of the week, maybe the big story of the month, and possibly of the year. Joe Biden faces fury over Iran deal as Israel attacked. Now, the news media got to work real quick trying to brush that one back, didn't they, Michael? They jumped on the MSDNCs and the CNNs. Oh, you can't say that. And NBC fake news with the new idiot that's the game show host on Meet the Press, who's an embarrassment to bipedal mammals, let's be honest. But they're all attacking anybody who says, Joe Biden just gave Iran $6 billion, the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. And now, coincidentally, what an amazing coincidence. What are the odds? The Iran-funded terrorist army Hamas, the Iran-funded terrorist army Islamic Jihad, the Iran-funded and backed Islamic army Hezbollah are attacking Israel, and so are the Democrats. What a coincidence. Isn't that amazing? But Joe Biden gave them the money. Also, President Trump cut off U.S. taxpayer dollars going to Hamas because they're a terrorist stinking group and genocidal racists, and they've been given independence. And what have they done with it? Do they turn the place into Monaco or to Tel Aviv? No, they turn it into a seething pit of death, and then they lash out at the world. So I've got that Joe Biden, the Democrats, the money to the Iranians, the money to Hamas. Thanks to Joe Biden and to Barack Obama and to the Democrats, take a look. Is this how World War III begins? Is this what World War III looks like? Joe Biden is not on our side. The Democrats are not on our side. The radicals protesting in Washington in front of the White House in New York City in favor of the massacre of the Jews. The media doesn't know what to think because they're not smart, and they're not on our side because they're the left. You know that border wall that we're building? There's something funny about that border wall. I'll explain that coming up today. Vladimir Putin is loving our assistance in helping him with the war in Ukraine. We got Hunter Biden and crime and mayhem, and it's all on the Democrats, all of it. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit chrisplantcruise.com. There are Democrats in the House of Representatives like Cori Bush and Rashida Tlaib who love the murder of the Jews. Mass murder, the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust during World War II by the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. Let us take a phone call, and then I'm going to start sharing with you the astonishing horrors of the Islamists and the Democrat Party, which are one in so many ways. Let's go to the phones, Mike. Let's go to Paul calling from Virginia. Paulo, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris. How are you this morning?
I'm good, Paul. What do you say?
Hey, I'm just wondering, I'm wondering if Hamas bought these guns from the Taliban with ransom money paid by Biden to Iran. That would be a double bank shot of stupidity, and I would not be surprised if it happened. I was wondering if you could ask your Beltway people there in D.C. to look at those videos and see if they can tell, looking at them, whether any of these troglodytes, as you call them, are armed with American weapons.
Well, that is an interesting question, an interesting question. I guess I thought about the tie to Afghanistan yesterday, but when Iran is backing you, generally, they have Russian-made weapons. They have AK-47s. They have, the 122 rockets or Katyusha rockets or variants of Katyusha rockets. But, if Iran is buying weapons from the Taliban and funneling them to Hamas and Islamic Jihad and Hezbollah, and again, Wall Street Journal reporting that the IRGC, the Iranians, have been in there working with the troglodytes for months now. All right, we'll get to the crazy Democrats, bat guano crazy Democrat Party, and their Islamist allies. And all that good stuff. Right now, let's take one more phone call, and then I want to get into the problem that is the Democrat Party, which, honestly, president of the Confederacy in the Civil War, Jefferson Davis, was the Democrat. Abraham Lincoln, the Republican. Going into World War I, progressive Democrat, racist, segregationist Woodrow Wilson. World War II, progressive Democrat, lefty, semi-socialists, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Getting into the Korean War, Harry Truman. Getting into the Vietnam War, JFK, and then really LBJ. Getting us out was Richard Nixon. And the Democrats, I got to tell you, there's peace through strength and there's war through weakness. And and Joe Biden is weakness. War in Europe, major war in Europe. Putin, Russia, Ukraine, war in the Middle East, Iran behind it, Iran funded by Obama, Biden, not by Trump. Obama, Biden, Boltneck, John Kerry, allowing Iran to continue to spin centrifuges and enrich uranium and advance their ballistic missile program where they write on the nose cones, death to Israel, death to the great Satan, That's us. Israel is the little Satan. You know how this goes. And before I jump in, let me go to one more caller right now. Let's go to Money calling from Columbia, Maryland. Money, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Yes. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Money.
I have been calling your show often, so many years.
I remember. Thank you for calling in today. I know we've had a number of great talks over the years.
Yes. The whole issue is I'm a historian. I have written a book about the history of Iran and the history of Shiaism in Iran. They are not Iranian. They are Khamenei always wears a Palestinian shawl, always. And that is a disrespect to Iranian people. His ancestors come from Hezbollah. Hezbollah, right now, his nephew is the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Also, this $6 billion they keep talking that came from Asia. No, it's not 6 million. It's 16 million. 10 million was given from Iraq to about 2 months ago. So it's not 6 million, it's 16 million.
Yeah, billion.
People of Iran.
I know you're misspeaking, but it's billions, not millions, of course.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, billions. But the people of Iran are starving. Children are eating out of the garbage cans. Women rose up, fought. Women, life, liberty, asked the world for protection, for getting rid of them. But Democrats always, they set the regime in Iran during President Carter. The documents CIA declassified are all in the Library of Congress. Everybody can go see to be proven that I'm not lying. So this regime belongs to the Democratic Party and the British because and what they have done to we're peaceful friends of America. I was educated in America. And this is, I even was a part of the diplomatic corps in America in those times. But this is the Iran, and this is the regime that is not Iranian, and it is. And do you know that the Human Rights Proclamation was written by Cyrus the Great, the Shah of Iran, in the year of 539 BCE, and Thomas Jefferson knew that, and he used those words of Cyrus the Great for the Constitution of the United States. And this is not what I'm saying. The documents are all in the Smithsonian Museum.
Now let me stop you for a moment, Mani, because you called in. Now you're Iranian American, you're Persian. You've obviously been in the United States for a very long time. I've spoken to you before. I know that you're pro-American, and you'd like to see. I mean, look, Iran under the Shah was not a threat to the world, was not a threat to anyone. Jimmy Carter let that dissolve and go away. And what you want to say is that, this current regime does not represent the people of Iran. This is a thug criminal regime that's in control of the country right now. They brutalize the Iranian people, and they are a threat to the region and the world. And I know that that's the case. That is clearly the case. And really, all you have to do is go back to Jimmy Carter's presidency and see what Iran was like under the Pahlavi family. Much, much better. Pro-Western, women going to college, women not being murdered for not wearing a hijab properly, like Masa Amini, and we've got a lot of brutality in the world these days, and a lot of bad guys out there. And one of the bad guys, for sure, is the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and the whole Ayatollah gang are the bad guys. And they've lined up with the other bad guys of the world, with Putin, and if you're a bad guy, they're with you. It's like a terrible James Bond movie where all these villains have aligned with one another. But Mani, I know that you want people to know that Iranians are not the problem, that Persians are not the problem, that the regime is the problem, and I know that to be true, and I've known that to be true for a very long time. And I've always known a lot of Iranians, a lot of Persians, for some reason, at least since I moved to California long ago. It's a great, amazing culture that goes back forever and has accomplished extraordinary things. And then the Islamists took over in 1979, born of a crime, overrunning our embassy, holding hostages. 444 days and 52 American hostages released in the end. And that was the birth of this criminal regime. And they continued to plague humanity and target the United States of America. And what I find amazing, Mani, is that the Democrat Party has found themselves, from Jimmy Carter to Rashida Tlaib, in bed with, in league with, handmaidens to the Ayatollahs, who are the world's leading state sponsors of terror and of radical Islamic jihad against the West. And this has to be once again acknowledged and recognized. And Mani, I know that you recognize that yourself.
Of course I do. And Rashida Tlaib is the same gang of Khamenei. So that's nothing new.
Yep.
We Iranians can see what she says and how she supports the regime.
Yep.
And all four of them in the Congress have been supporting the regime.
Yep.
But the whole issue is that this regime, if the Democratic Party does not support this regime, they will be gone, because the people of Iran do not want this regime.
Well, we should be funding the opposition and not the regime. It's it's like supporting the Soviet Union or the North Korean regime. And the left has done a lot of that over the years, too. When Ronald Reagan was trying to blast the commies out of Central America, the Democrats aligned themselves with the Sandinistas, because the Democrat Party has a long, long history of not being on our side. See Hanoi Jane Fonda during the war to blast the commies out of Southeast Asia, as they murdered and brutalized people by the millions. And as we tried to stop them, the left aligned themselves. They hitched their wagon to Ho Chi Minh, and that was all Soviet-backed, and the communists in the North, because they're not on our side. They're not on the side of Western civilization. They're the left. They're not liberals. Mani, great to hear your voice. Thank you for calling in. It's been years since I've spoken to Mani, because it's been years since Iran has been in the middle of the table. Now, here's a headline for you. Quote, repulsive, end quote. Fellow Democrats shred squad members Tlaib and Bush for glorifying the, quote, largest single-day murder of Jews since the Holocaust. Representative Richie Torres slammed fellow Democrats Cori Bush, radical leftist extremist, and Rashida Tlaib, radical anti-American Islamist leftist extremist, over reprehensible and repulsive comments they made during the current conflict with Israel. Hamas launched one of the deadliest attacks into Israel in decades on Saturday, and it is the biggest massacre since World War II and the Holocaust of Jews in a 1-day, 2-day period. A day after the anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, and on a Jewish holiday, killing and kidnapping civilians, launching missile attacks. I think 5,000 rockets launched on just random targets in Israel. Civilian, military, they could care less. They just want to kill the Jews. And they've kidnapped, the number may be 200 people now, including an unknown number of Americans, now that Joe Biden has revealed that he will pay Iran $1.2 billion per American hostage. Iranian Americans, by the way, $1.2 billion, $6 billion for 5 hostages. And then a matter of days later, American hostages are being taken in the Middle East. Another coincidence, I guess, by radical Islamic terrorist elements, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and now they're not, Hezbollah is not taking hostages yet, but give them a minute because it's their thing. And again, the Ayatollahs, when the Ayatollahs took over in 1979, the first thing they did was take American hostages, and that went on for 444 days until the day that Ronald Reagan was inaugurated, because peace through strength, war and hostages through weakness. Now, the Democrat Party is not on the side of Western civilization because they're the left. They're not liberals. Some of them are too dumb to know the difference. Some of them are not. And either way, they're dangerous. Some are useful idiots. Some are very, very dangerous. Both Tlaib and Cori Bush, along with other members of the group referred to as the Squad, have come under fire before over accusations of anti-Semitism, very well established. Now, as the conflict unfolded over the weekend, radical extremist Democrat Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib issued a statement referring to Israel as the apartheid government that created great suffering. Yeah, it's their own leaders that caused the suffering. They've got a beautiful piece of real estate on the Mediterranean Sea that could be a waterfront paradise, but instead they turn it into a killing factory because they're a death cult, just by the way. So Rashida Tlaib talking about the terrible Israeli apartheid government causing suffering, which led to what she calls the resistance by Hamas. That's like saying Al-Qaeda is resistance. They're the resistance, right? The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC in Iran. Oh, they're the resistance, and that they're killing Americans and everybody else. Tlaib demanded that the United States stop providing billions in unconditional funding, she said, to Israel. Well, Joe Biden has funneled hundreds of millions to Hamas since he got in about 2.5 years ago. And he's funneled billions to the Ayatollahs in Iran since he got in, following on the Barack Obama tradition of arming and funding the enemies of civilization. So Congresswoman Bush released similar comments and demanded that the U.S. stop supporting Israel. She wrote, "I grieve the Palestinian and Israeli lives lost yesterday. See who came first." Now, let's keep in mind, Israel was just sitting there having a holiday, a family holiday, where there are big meals and you have the whole family over and everybody's happy and it's good. And then a radical Islamic jihadi army with AK-47s and Iranian rockets started raining death down upon the civilian population of the only democratic government in the region of the world, the only place where LGBTQ rights are respected, where women's rights are respected, where Muslims, Jews, and Christians are allowed to happily live together. If the Muslims don't start murdering everybody, there are a couple of extreme Jews too, but not many. I grieve for the Palestinian and Israeli lives lost yesterday, today, and every day, she says, I'm determined as ever to fight for a just future where everyone can live in peace. Well, that's Israel. Without fear. Well, that's Israel. And with true freedom, equal rights, and human dignity. Well, that's Israel, Rashida Tlaib wrote. The path to that future must include lifting the blockade. Now the blockade's going to be there forever. Ending occupation. That's not occupation, that's the state of Israel. And demanding the apartheid system that creates the suffocating, dehumanizing conditions that can lead to resistance. These people should be deported. They're American citizens and they should be deported. They should be catapulted into the sea. They should be dropped out of airplanes with parachutes that might work over the Gaza Strip. Honestly. Then they attacked U.S. aid to Israel, the democracy where everyone lives in peace with human dignity and rights, because they're mentally impaired. They're mental dwarves. They're anti-American. They're anti-Western. And they are the useful idiots of those that would destroy civilization. Let me go right to the telephones because we have Stephen calling in from Jerusalem in Israel under attack. Stephen, we're a global show, you know.
Good morning.
Thanks to Al Gore and the internet. Hey, good morning, Stephen. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
Very well, very well.
Okay, I wanted to share with you and your listeners a situation here. I live in Jerusalem. This is like day number 2. This is like what it was like sort of the day after 9/11. Things are starting to set in. Almost everybody that we know of age has been called up to reserve. My son-in-law, everybody in the neighborhood. You know, I'm a grandfather, so I'm doing little odd jobs and helping people out where it's needed around the neighborhood. It's just after the holiday, and there's these little huts that we build outside during the holiday and had to be taken down. And I'm wondering, well, how come they haven't been taken down? It kind of hit me this morning as, oh my God, all the men, they're all gone. They're all gone to reserve. It's a difficult period. Of course, the country is in solidarity now. There's even going on with the government on forming an emergency government for with the right and the left, and putting all this aside, and emergency government to deal with the security situation, to bring all the experienced players in to deal with this. I don't have to tell you how brutal it is. We already know people that have fallen. This is a small country. We know someone that knows someone. My daughter's friends have been called up to the south. My son-in-law, my friend's sons, they go to the north. Most of the reserve people go to the north.
Stephen, I don't want to interrupt you, but can I ask you to hang on through the news so I don't give you short shrift here? Can you hang on for a few minutes? And I want to let you keep going in just a few minutes because I want to hear more from you. And I have questions for you, of course. And I'm very happy that you called in from Jerusalem. And I want our listeners on more than 100 stations nationwide to hear from you. So please hang in there for a couple of minutes.